Hey guys, welcome back to another video here on the Product Pup. Today we are talking about 10 business ideas that you can start right now in 2022 without any coding required. So I come up with business ideas literally all the time. I have a few different notebooks where I write them down. I write them on my notes app on my phone. I write them on my Notion. I think of ideas in the shower, when I'm walking, like literally all the time. It's just how my brain works. So it's kind of ridiculous at this point though, how many ideas I think of. But many of the ideas that I do think of, I don't personally really have an interest in pursuing them. Every single idea I have, I cannot pursue. Like it's just not feasible. And not every single idea excites me as much as some others. So I basically figured, why don't I start sharing some of the ideas that I have with other people? Because for me, ideas are free. I'm not here to gatekeep them. I think an idea is also completely worthless until you actually do something with it. So I feel like the more people that know about ideas, the better it is, because maybe someone can figure out if it's a good one, maybe they can actually do something with it, etc. I feel like coming up with an idea is often what seems like the hardest thing. There are so many people who want to start a business or become a little bit more entrepreneurial, but they don't have a good idea. But of course, the idea is not actually the hardest part. The hardest part is most definitely actually building the business. But I think an idea is at least something to get you started. Otherwise, it's kind of hard to even make a start. So I really hope this video inspires you in some way. You could be an aspiring entrepreneur, you could be a business owner already, you could be a student, like looking to do an assignment on some kind of creative project. I just hope this video inspires you in some way to take action on whatever it is that you want to do. So I mentioned that the ideas I'm going to share require no coding, and that's because they can all be built using no-code tools. I talk about no-code tools all the time on my channel, so if you're not familiar with them, I will link a no-code playlist above. But in short, no-code tools are a way to use a visual interface of some kind that helps you put different components together visually, and it kind of writes the code for you automatically in the background. So you can be a pretty non-technical person and still build software products without actually coding. And there are so many no-code tools now that pretty much allow you to achieve almost anything to some extent that custom development would. Now, there are obviously so many ways to build a product and to build a business, and no-code tools is simply one way. And I'm not saying it's the best way, but it is a fantastic place to start, especially if you have limited budget, limited technical knowledge, limited access to a developer. Also a very low risk way to build something minimal, like a minimum viable product or a proof of concept, and then validate it to see if it's actually worth pouring more investment into. So without further ado, let's get into the 10 business ideas that you can build in 2022 without any coding using no-code tools. So the first idea I have under marketplaces is a marketplace for very small boutiques who typically go to different markets, set up stalls, and like sell their products that way. So typically quite crafty products, artsy products, and they usually have like a pretty small supply, and they usually only have like the one physical location. And if you go to these markets, you'll see that there are lots of different little stalls, and you know, they're usually run by like one person or maybe a couple of people at the most. It could be a little family business. These little boutiques, they don't really have any kind of online exposure. They could go set up their own website. They could probably go list on Etsy, but the website's going to be expensive. It's also going to mean they have to go and figure out how to get exposure. And then Etsy is probably quite competitive, and I also think they take a decent cut of the sale. So what if there was a marketplace solely focused on little crafty boutiques? Like, doesn't have to be just crafts, but yeah, little boutiques. You could filter on the website the boutiques by city, the types of products that they have. You could even combine products from different boutiques and create little like packages or hampers or something like that. You could list them for free, right? Onboard the seller or the boutique onto the marketplace for free. charge a tiny fee to do like product photography and all of that if they don't already have it. There's a concept that's kind of similar to this that I've seen in the UK. I think it's called highstreet.co.uk or something like that, or highstreet.com. I'll leave the link here somewhere, but it's a similar concept, and like you can pretty much tweak this to be very focused on like gifts, and think about the different promotions that you could do based on all the different occasions and holidays and things that happen throughout the year. So that is idea number 1. Marketplace idea number 2 is a marketplace that connects non-profits or charities to skilled professionals or interns. Guys, I've had this idea for so long. Basically a marketplace that allows businesses who are not for profit, especially charities, to list the needs that they have for their business. It could be anything. It could be like for accounting, it could be for some design work, it could be for some photography, it could be general IT support, it could be anything of that nature, like more of a professional skill. Help connect them with people who have those skills and are willing to do it for free, because obviously these are non-profits, they're probably not going to pay. But I thought specifically it would be cool for students, or maybe students who have almost completed studying, or maybe are recent graduates especially, to find a way to get work experience through this. And of course the work would be probably for free. That would be dependent on each organization to figure out if there was some way in which they could compensate. But the idea is to help these, charities, these businesses that don't make any money and they're doing such good for the community, but they also at the end of the day are running a business. And they might not have the resources, the budget, or maybe even the skills to be doing all of that business stuff. And they simply can't just go and hire someone. So yeah, if there are ways in which employees working at certain companies or students with certain skills, if those could be offered to these charities, and again, they could be matched in some way, right? So the charity could list what kind of work they need to be done, and the person could list what kind of skills they have. They could basically create a profile, like a job listing site, but pretty much focused on tasks for non-profits. And for employees who are already working at a company, this could work towards their like volunteer hours. A lot of corporates or companies have volunteer hour requirements of employees, so I thought this could be a cool way for them to volunteer rather than some of the other volunteering activities that I feel like are more publicized, things like, more like laborious work. Anyway, that's idea number 2. Marketplace idea number 3 is a marketplace for one-off rentals or a loan for equipment. Think of equipment like things that you might need to do things around the house, like more like hardware, maybe like a drill or a special hammer or like a hedge trimmer, something like that. But these are one-off things that you might need to use, but you don't want to go and buy because they're often quite expensive and you literally just need to use it once. So you're probably going to find out if someone you know has it, or you might try to buy a secondhand one from Facebook Marketplace. But specifically, I thought this idea could be really useful, focusing only on apartment buildings or apartment complexes. So I got this idea because my apartment building actually has a little app with a little social network on it, and so many of the posts are people asking each other for things like that. And it's just a very inconvenient way of asking people. It's just very messy. So I thought it could be cool if you could have residents living in a building list the stuff that they are willing to rent out, and then you could have people on the other side who need that equipment to find it and easily like book it or something. And extending that, if an apartment building actually had their own supply of equipment, they could also list that and make it available on the app. A cool way to make this idea really targeted and specific would be to aim it specifically at apartment buildings and not just like a free-for-all to the general public where anyone can hire anyone's equipment. I think it could be really good in more of a contained environment or a contained location. So those are the 3 marketplace ideas. Now the no-code tools that you can use for marketplaces are ShareTribe, Softer, and Bubble.io. So these are not the only ones you could use, but these are the top 3 that I would recommend. ShareTribe is specifically focused on marketplaces. Bubble.io you can pretty much use to build any kind of web app, but they do have some templates specifically for marketplaces. And Softer, again, you can kind of use as a no-code platform to build anything, but they also have some really fantastic marketplace-specific templates. The next category is directories or aggregation of information. So that's quite self-explanatory. There is so much data out there now that we probably have a directory website to find data about whatever topic it is you're looking for. But I find that a lot of these aggregator websites are just scraping the web. As a result, are just information overload. So I feel like they don't necessarily help the problem of us having information overload. But I think a potential opportunity here is to take a personalized, carefully curated directory/aggregation experience on some given topic. I'll give you an example because I'm finding it hard to explain this one, but there are so many product management resources on the internet. They cater very heavily to those in the early stages of their product career. So really that 0 to 1, like getting into tech, getting that first job, like landing that gig. But what about those people in like the mid to senior levels of their career? I feel like it's a lot harder to find information, and there is certainly not a lot that is catering to that. So that is an opportunity that I think you could tap into. So while there are so many aggregation websites, taking a bit of a different angle on that and saying, hey, we're hyper focusing on this part of your product career, and we are personally curating and aggregating these resources to help you if you are in this specific career level. Basically what I'm saying is I feel like directory and aggregation websites need an overhaul. It's overwhelming and there are way too many of them out there. Now the no-code tools I would recommend for an aggregation type of website are Airtable. You can create a nice database in Airtable and actually put like a skin over it that acts also as the website, and you can have like a custom URL. Also Notion. Notion is a great way to create a very simple directory, and again, I think you can have a custom URL in Notion as well. Use really any other no-code tool if you really wanted to, like you could use Bubble, you could use Webflow, you could use Wix, any kind of website builder to put together a really simple website that also did kind of like a directory style page. Category number 5 is what I'm calling skill as a service. If you have a skill, it could be anything from design to copywriting to sketching, like it could be anything. Think of a way in which you could package up your skill like a subscription rather than freelancing and offering like a one-off project via something like a Fiverr to someone who then contracts you for this one-off job. What if you thought of yourself like a software product whereby you have different tiers? Depending on how much someone pays you or which tier they buy is what service they get in return. And you could apply similar concepts from SaaS pricing to this as well. So if someone wanted to pay for a whole year up front or whatever, they got a discount. But I think the branding and marketing here could be really, really cool. Content as a service, design as a service. And maybe there are also certain parts of each subscription tier that you could automate. Thinking you could use tools like Zapier, depending on what your skill is or how you're setting up that business, you could potentially automate certain parts of it. The no-code tools you can use for this would honestly be any kind of website builder, as long as it has a payment gateway, so you can accept payments and you can easily show the different memberships you have and people can pay for them and subscribe via the website. Any kind of website builder would do. Webflow, Shopify, Wix, you name it. So idea number 6 is a personalized inventory management system for retailers. There's a story behind this. So I was at a liquor store some time ago, and I was asking the person there to help me pick a wine. I was going to see a friend's new house and I wanted to take a really nice bottle of wine. And this was a really, really big liquor store. It was a Dan Murphy's in Australia, if you know how big they are. And I was really overwhelmed. And I asked the person for some help, and they asked me a bunch of questions like what kind of wine, what region, what kind of tasting notes, they asked me a bunch of criteria so that their little like machine gadget thing could give me some recommendations. Honestly took this poor woman like 10 minutes to get this machine going, and when it did get going, like she had a really, really hard time finding the right information and she couldn't easily filter what she wanted to. And yeah, she was basically telling me how difficult it was to use this inventory management system thing that they had, which was also used as a way to give personalized recommendations for products to customers, like live in the store, how clunky it was, how difficult it was to use, how oftentimes it didn't give you the right information. Like, that kind of stuck in my mind. And I thought, wow, if someone went and designed a really freaking awesome inventory management system, mobile-based perhaps, for, let's say we just start with liquor retailers, built that really well, got that into a national liquor store chain like a Dan Murphy's, how incredible would that be? And then you could potentially scale it out to other liquor stores, because there are so many chains for liquor stores. I thought this was interesting because while you can probably go and license some kind of generic inventory management system, something really personalized and catered to this industry, I think is the key. And I think this is a pain point that a lot of businesses face when they're using a system that is kind of meant for general use, right? General inventory management, but it doesn't necessarily mold to your specific industry needs. Like, I think if this was built well and it was built in a very intuitive, sexy, modern way, and that it could be deployed easily to the retail staff in the store. I just had an idea. What if you could also put this on like little self-service machines when you walked into the store, like a little self-help gadget? Like, I don't know if these exist anywhere, but I haven't seen them in Australia. And I know that it's really, really hard to pick the right alcohol when you are looking for something specific. You're looking for a gift, or you're going to a very specific dinner, you're trying to map something with food. It's really hard. I felt really bad that the staff at Dan Murphy's were struggling with the piece of technology that was meant to help them. Idea number 7 is a subscription box to anything. I feel like subscription boxes have been booming for the last few years. That means there's still opportunity for more. So think about the right niche. I think again, it's gonna be about the right product, the right need. Think about things that people are really lazy with, things that people want convenience with, or maybe something a little bit more higher end. I feel like a lot of subscription boxes don't cater to products that are more higher end. So maybe there's something there, and if you could maybe get the scale, then you could offer that thing that's usually a little bit more expensive, a little bit more cheap. It could be physical products. I'm thinking if it could also be a digital product of some kind. That's an idea actually. A digital subscription box. I don't know what you would sell in it. You need to look into it. But I think opportunity is ripe when a given area like subscription boxes is booming. See if you can find a gap in that market for what other subscriptions you could potentially sell. Now, as with the previous idea, you could probably use any kind of website builder to build a subscription service. Most website builders will have some kind of add-on or integration that will allow you to charge customers on a recurring basis and allow them to kind of sign up to do that on some kind of regular frequency. Look into Webflow, Wix, Shopify, any kind of website builder, you got it. So the remaining ideas are a little bit less specific. I have not thought them through as much, but nonetheless, they are ideas that I've had, so I'm gonna share them with you. And you will probably have to go and do a lot more of the thinking on these ones. So idea number 8, I'm cheating a little bit, is to look at products and services that are doing really, really well in other countries and see if you can expand them into your given country. For example, the clothing rental business is doing pretty well in the US. I don't think it's as much of a thing in Australia yet. So maybe something to look at there. Idea number 9 is to look at age-old industries like insurance, banking, and energy, and look at processes or things that they just do really, really badly. It could be customer service, just purely the products that they offer. It could even be like their websites, and think about how to make that better. There is so much innovation happening in energy and banking and insurance right now. I think insurance is the one that really needs a little bit more. How about this? How about an insurance company solely aimed at millennials or like the younger generation? What if you could educate kids, maybe teenagers, like maybe people in high school onwards, about insurance? One thing I would love to see come to life one day is how can someone make insurance less insurance-y? Like, how can you bring transparency to insurance so people trust their insurance provider? Maybe there needs to be a new insurance provider in the world that like is catered to the younger generation. Yeah, something like that. Is there a way to like rejig the way insurance policies work so that they're just not so difficult and hard to understand? I don't know, something like that is an idea I'm throwing out in terms of how to rethink age-old industries. So the no-code tools I would recommend for idea 8 and 9 are no-code tools that really allow you to build any kind of web app, so they're quite flexible. So that would be bubble.io, and if you want to go more specifically down the mobile route, you could look at Glide or you could look at AppSheet. But yeah, you can pretty much build almost anything at all with bubble.io. Okay, last but not least, number 10. I really feel like I'm cheating a little bit on this one. I wanted to make it 10, a round number. So number 10 is to look at businesses that are fundamental to our lives today and think about how they could be transitioned into Web3 businesses. Now, I think a really good reason to explore this is to learn about Web3. It's creating an opportunity for yourself to learn about Web3. It's really what you are learning in that process and the fact that you're trying. I'm gonna take some time to think about this so I can give you some specific examples that you could go and investigate further. So I will put them on the screen here. So that is it for this video. Thank you so much if you got this far. I really do appreciate it. I hope this video shows you that you do not need to be technical or a developer to consider bringing ideas to life. And you certainly do not need to create brand spanking new ideas either. You can definitely take from what already exists and see if you can improve it in some way. See if you can pivot it, if you can tweak it, and find a gap in the market that exists with some of the products and services that are already out there. So stay inspired, take action, and I will see you in my next video.